Hello and welcome back to our marvelous channel. It's been a while since that phone rang, right? The first time we heard it, it wasn't just a call from the dead, it was a call from a story that caught all of us off guard. Can you guess what we're talking about? Yup, the Black Phone. And guess what? The sequel's almost here, and things are about to get even wilder. So, before we jump into whatever fresh nightmare the next movie's bringing, let's hit rewind and catch up on everything you need to remember. Whether you've seen it or somehow missed out, no worries, we've got you covered. Let's get into it. The call that started it all. Recap of the Black Phone 2021. Let's rewind to the summer of 1978 in a quiet Denver suburb where kids rode their bikes until dusk, and the biggest worry should have been school bullies or an angry parent not disappearing without a trace. But something far darker lurked in the shadows of that neighborhood, and the children knew his name only through frightened whispers. The Grabber. Finney Blake was just another kid trying to survive adolescence. At home, he lived with an alcoholic and abusive father, and while he had a younger sister named Gwen who never hesitated to speak her mind, Finney himself was far more reserved. The only bright spot in his school life was his friend Robin, who often stepped in to protect him from bullies, but even that sense of safety didn't last. Kids were going missing. First, Bruce, an older boy Finney once played baseball with, and then tragically, Robin himself vanished, leaving behind nothing but growing dread in the neighborhood. Gwen started having very vivid, disturbing dreams as these disappearances continued. Her visions were very similar to the events of the kidnappings. Though she didn't fully understand where these dreams came from, she suspected they were more than just your normal nightmares. Her mother had similar experiences before her death, and now Gwen too was plagued with flashes of black balloons, unfamiliar houses, and the eerie presence of a man in a mask. She tried to tell the police, but like most adults in horror stories, they brushed her off, unable or unwilling to believe a child could know more than them. And then the inevitable happened. Finney became the next victim. He woke up in a cold cement basement with no windows, no way out, and only a rusted black rotary phone hanging on the wall. The Grabber told him the phone didn't work, but that wasn't exactly true. It started ringing, and when Finney answered, he didn't hear static or a wrong number. He heard the voices of the dead. The very same boys who had gone missing before him, each one reaching out from beyond with just enough memory to try and help. One voice told him to dig through the floor. Another warned him not to fall for the Grabber's twisted mind games. Each call revealed more about the man who had taken him and more about the ways the others had tried and failed to escape. At one point, Finney even made it to the top of the stairs, keycode in hand, ready to flee, but the Grabber's vicious dog caught him, and he was dragged back into the basement. Hope started to slip away, and for a moment it seemed like the cycle would repeat itself, one more voice lost to the Black Phone. But then, Robin's voice came through. Robin, ever the fighter, reminded Finney of who he was, that he wasn't just a victim, but someone who had survived bullying at school, an abusive home, and the disappearance of his only friend. He gave Finney instructions, but more importantly, he gave him the courage to fight. Using the wire, the hole he had dug, and a phone receiver packed with dirt as a weapon, Finney set his trap. At the same time, Gwen's dreams became more specific, more urgent. She rode her bike through the neighborhood, following the visions, and eventually stumbled upon the very house the police had overlooked. She called the detectives, and they rushed in, but what they found was unexpected. The house Gwen discovered was empty, no Finney in sight. Instead, buried beneath the floorboards were the remains of all the Grabber's victims. Across the street, however, in an identical house, Finney was still alive. Inside that second basement, Max, the Grabber's brother, who had been unknowingly living upstairs, finally realized what was happening and tried to intervene, but it was too late. The Grabber struck him down with an axe and then stormed into the basement to finish what he started, but Finney was ready. The tunnel had been dug, and the ankle-snapping bars were in place. The moment the Grabber fell, his fate was sealed, and in a beautifully twisted moment of poetic justice, the spirits on the other end of the phone mocked their killer one last time as Finney wrapped the phone cord around his neck and snapped it tight. When the police finally arrived, they found Finney walking out of the house, battered but alive, and completely transformed. His reunion with Gwen was emotional, and even their father, overwhelmed by guilt, broke down in apology. The story closed with Finney returning to school, no longer sitting alone, no longer afraid, and no longer invisible. What we know about Black Phone 2. Ever since the Black Phone became a breakout hit back in 2022, one question has lingered in the minds of fans. Was that really the end of the Grabber? Apparently not, because Black Phone 2 is officially on the way. The first film was a huge success for Blumhouse. The thriller, based on a short story by Joe Hill, pulled in over $160 million at the box office on a modest $18 million budget. Not bad for a story about a disconnected rotary phone and a masked child killer. The movie didn't just do numbers, it stuck with people. The black balloons, the ringing phone, the ghosts of lost boys calling from the other side. It tapped into something old school and unsettling, and audiences couldn't get enough of it. From the moment the credits rolled, there were whispers of a follow-up. Director Scott Derrickson, screenwriter C. Robert Cargill, and Joe Hill himself all hinted they had more stories to tell if the right pieces fell into place, and now they have. Black Phone 2 is officially in production, with Derrickson back in the director's chair and the original writing team returning as well. So here's the latest update that we have. Black Phone 2 was originally set to hit theaters on June 27, 2025, but that plan has changed. The new release date is now October 17, 2025, and it's just 2 weeks before Halloween. The film's been delayed by 4 months, and for fans who have been dying to see what comes next, that's a bit of a bummer. But let's be honest, horror films thrive in October, right? That eerie chill in the air, jack-o'-lanterns on every porch, and now a brand new Black Phone movie arriving right in time for spooky season. It's a perfect fit. Universal Pictures is distributing the film, and as of now, it's getting a full theatrical release. Streaming plans are yet to be revealed, so if you want to catch it first, the big screen is where you need to be. Whether you're a returning fan or someone who just heard The Ringing for the first time, October 17th is the date to remember. Wait, didn't he die? The new film brings back Mason Thames as Finney and Madeline McGraw as Gwen, siblings who survived the grabber once, but who may not be free of him just yet. And yes, Ethan Hawke is also returning, which is the part that has fans speculating the most because, spoiler alert, the grabber didn't exactly walk away from that first movie. So how is he back? Well, that's still unexplained, which might actually be the point. What we do know is that Black Phone 2, instead of just being a continuation, is being described as a sinister new chapter in what Blumhouse hopes will be an ongoing franchise. That could mean a lot of things. A direct sequel, a new victim, a deeper dive into the grabber's backstory, or even a new story built around the phone itself. The first film already hinted at supernatural forces, ghostly voices, psychic dreams, and a killer who felt more like a curse than a man, so the idea of the grabber haunting the living, even after his death, isn't exactly a reach. During New York Comic-Con, Jason Blum explained that the sequel only came together because Derrickson and Cargill believed they had something new to say, and they weren't interested in returning unless the original cast came with. That's exactly what happened, and that's probably a good sign for fans hoping the sequel won't rehash the same story. So while details are still being kept under wraps, Black Phone 2 looks like it'll deepen the mystery instead of just replaying it. And if the first movie taught us anything, it's this. Just because someone is gone doesn't mean they're silent. If the phone rings again, will you answer? Here's my question to you. If the phone rings again, will you answer? Because Black Phone 2 is reuniting us with the original cast, and it's also bringing in some brand new faces. And that's where things start to get interesting. First off, Anna Lore has joined the cast. Horror fans might recognize her from They/Them or the upcoming Final Destination Bloodlines. Her role in Black Phone 2 hasn't been revealed yet, but early rumors suggest she may be one of the teens caught up in whatever new terror is unfolding. Also returning is Jeremy Davies as Finney and Gwen's troubled father, and Miguel Cazares Mora as Robin, who, if you remember, had a deeply emotional send-off in the first film. But the cast doesn't stop there. The Nun's Demian Bichir is also on board, though his role is being kept tightly under wraps. The same goes for rising star Ariana Rivas, whose character has not been revealed either. With this mix of familiar and fresh faces, there's a good chance the story will involve a new group of kids, possibly connected to the same house, the same town, or the same phone. We're still in the dark about most plot details, but director Scott Derrickson dropped a pretty big clue at New York Comic-Con. According to him, the first movie was a middle school story. This one's moving the timeline forward. Black Phone 2 will follow Finney during his high school years, which makes sense. The kid went through something unimaginable. He was kidnapped, locked in a basement, and guided by the voices of the dead. Even if he simply walked away, there's no way he walked away unchanged. This sequel isn't simply about another haunting, it's about living with what you've survived. And yeah, if the Black Phone starts ringing again, you can bet it's not just nostalgia. There's also speculation that we might get flashbacks to the grabber's past, possibly with a younger actor portraying him. This could mean the film is going to explore how he became what he was. And that idea, if true, is where things might get tricky. The truth is, part of what made the grabber so terrifying was that we didn't know him. No tragic backstory, no twisted origin, just a masked man with black balloons in a basement. The lack of motive made him feel real. He was an evil you couldn't explain. So, if the sequel starts taking away those layers, it'll need to tread carefully. There's a fine line between giving us context and taking away the fear, because sometimes The scariest monsters are the ones we never truly understand. Marvelous verdict! Well, with that, guys, we've come to the end of yet another marvelous video. Until we get a proper look at the Black Phone 2, we'll just have to sit tight and wonder what the sequel has in store for us. But in the meantime, it's the perfect chance for anyone who missed the first film or just wants a refresher to dive into the story that has horror fans buzzing with anticipation. Now, we want to hear from you. What do you guys want to see in this film? How do you want the Grabber to come back? Do you have hopes for this next installment? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section down below. We can't wait to read them. If you enjoyed watching this video, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more stuff like this. Thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.